And we are live. Good evening.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. Good weekend.
Long weekend.
Hey, no, but I was talking more about rugby.
Yeah.
I mean, Australia thumped the Kiwis and we happened to come home with a little trophy.
We did. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to pilot episode 4 of the Pundits podcast. We've got Judge Rugby, who's still banned from Twitter.
Hey, man.
Apparently he's having a hard time with him. So
Yeah.
if any of you have any contacts to help him get his accounts unsuspended,
Sheesh.
please help the poor bloke out. He's having a hard time.
Bro, it's just everything's an automated response and I just want to get some information. But anyway.
So whoever reported him, please unreport him.
That's also a good shout.
He's really missing that account and he would really like to start posting rugby things again.
Are you missing it maybe?
No, it's actually nice not having you on my timeline for a bit.
Flooding.
But it's okay. But it's great. So yeah, weekend of rugby. It's been a busy one.
Yeah, a good one.
Big one. I think we both called a Springbok win. I think I called a narrow one and you called a big one. So I think you win. You win on the prediction game.
I think I did 31-21, but I did say it was a bonus point.
Yeah, I think you said bonus points. So you're ahead on that radar. But happy with the performance?
Yeah, I thought they did well. We haven't had a ruthless performance in a while, and I wouldn't quite call this ruthless, but it's definitely, if you look at how timid we've been in the past in terms when we on top and finishing and stuff, I thought this was a better shot. I think they're still, the nice thing is we can start like polishing off some performances. We can start looking at guys and saying, listen, you're doing this, and this wrong. Like as overall you're doing well, and as a squad and a team we're doing well. We just need to fine tune it. And like I said to you earlier, I think we've got another 15-20%, maybe 25% that we could better ourselves with this current squad. Like I really think we've got that much more to improve. We've got a lot of work to do, but as a whole we're in a really good space. And I just think that front row that started were incredible.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was sitting in Paul Gim's coursehuis watching the game.
A couple of legends have walked through there.
Yeah. I sat in a room with I had pictures all over me with the past legends of the game and Springbok legends and all of that. And the one played on Saturday, 100.
Yeah.
And
he didn't have a bad game, eh?
He didn't have a bad game either. And the Gim boys were going absolutely crazy in the coursehuis every time he got his hands on the ball.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was, as you said, clinical, which is something that we don't associate the Springboks with too often.
True. Well, not for the last 8 years.
Yeah. And it was nice to see a professional performance by us, and it was nice to see us not getting to a point where we were leading the game and taking the foot off the pedal. We sort of always wanted more. Even when we got the yellow card, we seemed to keep pushing, which was nice to see. It was refreshing to see.
And we scored with that yellow card.
We did, yeah.
And I think, the big thing, like you say, we were clinical. We've been building up to being clinical. And then, like, we're carrying on with our progression, which, in the past, we've worked out a couple of good performances and surprised people, but then sunk back down to being crap again, We're now, like, there's like steps that we're taking and we keep ticking boxes all the way up, and we're building a phenomenal foundation, which is huge.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's going to be tough to leave players out of this World Cup squad that's coming up.
Who would have thought, eh?
And yeah, well, I think 2 years ago, if you look at it, we were scratching our heads going, geez, who do we take to the World Cup?
More a case of who don't we want to bench.
Yeah, fair enough.
Now we're like, who we have to leave behind.
Who we can't bench and who we have to start.
Yeah,
Now we're looking at a point where, right, so who don't we pick for the matchday squad?
Which incredible player is not going to go to the World Cup?
Yeah, and it's there's going to be a few tough decisions in the next few weeks. It's been said that the 26th of August is D-Day.
Yeah.
Announcement day, so not too many days left with one test match to go.
2. We play
one test
home.
match before the squad gets announced.
Yeah. We play at home, and then we'll surely do the squad announcement before we leave.
Before we go to Japan.
Obviously, before we play Japan, we'd have to, obviously. But it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So we were on the next point of. I think we were talking about last week. We sort of touched on the point that other teams would probably sort of take us a bit more seriously. I don't think teams don't take us seriously, but they'd be watching us a bit closer. Do you think the clinical performance in Argentina has really put the marker up a little bit, and teams would really start worrying about us now?
I think so, and it more leads into where I was talking about, like in terms of the steps that they've grown and where they're going. To put in a massive performance in Argentina and the current way they're playing, like sides can do that. I think it's more a case of every single week you see the Springbok squad and team and match day team grow, and I think that's like you can't ignore it anymore. There will be times where we don't click and connect, but I think the environment that's been created at the moment is huge, and it's worrying for everybody else. And it's huge for us. I think you look at the players, like there's a lot of players that are taking responsibility. There's a lot of players doing stuff in a game, and like everyone's building together. There's no that one savior that we are looking at. When Francois Lowe was brought back in a couple of years back, everyone was like, he's going to save it. And when Francis Steyn was brought back a couple of years ago, it's like, oh no, he's going to save the day. And like more a case of we're not looking for one single person to deliver for us. So I think
spread out quite nicely now.
It is, but it's a team. It's a team sport. Always has been. Always will be. And then we look at like the thing that I think has changed so much for us is I spoke about it a lot in the past, but square peg round hole. Like that's what it felt like. It felt like everything was just like you just got to hit that square peg into that round hole with a bigger. If it's not going in, you got to get a bigger hammer. And like now we're starting to look at players, and we're starting to play players depending on the opposition and our game plan, and we've got players in the same position that offer different values.
I think that pleases me the most. Now, seeing that we finally have a Springbok squad that you can pick a team based sort of on the type of rugby you want to play and the type of opposition you're actually playing against. Where I think we were very much one-minded in the past 8 years, one-sided, one-minded. This was our strengths. This is the way we play, whether it works or doesn't work. That's how we do it. Where now we're a little bit more adaptable, and I think that's the key in international rugby these days. You've got to be able to adapt for the game, or you've got to be able to adapt for your opposition. You've got to be able to adapt in the game, and you sort of got to be able to pick what's in front of you at times. And whatever they being the opposition are threatening you with, you need to be able to counter that. And I think we finally have a squad that can counter that.
Totally. We weren't evolving in a game, and we weren't playing heads-up rugby. We weren't. For a long time we weren't. And looking at the squad that Russie's picked, and like we had the players, and we always had them. It was more about bringing them together and bringing the best out of us as a team and them as an individual. And like it's being done. And regardless of what's happening with the squads and what might happen in the future, I still honestly believe that the foundation that's being set now is going to take us much, 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 much further than what we believe.
There's another little. Obviously, we've got this little hoodoo, or not hoodoo, we don't have it, but it's the competition that whoever wins the Rugby Championship doesn't necessarily go on and win the World Cup. But I think it was a stat or a graph I saw, and it could have been something from what Ultimate Rugby put out, was that's only happened when we haven't won the Rugby Championship. It's always been someone else that's won the Rugby Championship. Could we break that hoodoo, do you think?
Totally. This is the best thing that could have happened to us was to win, and more importantly, win how we won on Saturday. Like that's going to galvanize the squad. The guys get to sit down, have drinks, have a chat, close down after a tournament with silverware and being the best side in the Southern Hemisphere. Like, none of these guys, I don't think anyone's been there for 10 years. So none of them have got this, and they certainly haven't got anything remotely close to this as a side and as a team. You know, we've had up and down results for ages. So this is huge for us, and this will push the guys forward. This is the best thing that could have happened to us.
Last thing on it, we sort of talk about, we like to throw back the past, and we like to touch on, well, when I say we as the South African rugby public, we talk about 2007, and we talk about the squad that we had then. I think that is probably our most dominant sort of squad when it comes to competition rugby. But going into that World Cup, we weren't so dominant going into it.
We did have a big loss.
We did have a big loss. I'm saying that to say we weren't that.
In 06.
We weren't coming off a Tri Nations or a Rugby Championship victory. Do you think the squad is will be slightly better mentally prepared than that squad? Or do you think that squad was just primed, especially for the World Cup, that whatever happens in the Rugby Championship, this is the bigger goal, this is what we're going for? Feels like this squad, we're taking it step by step. This is the first hurdle. We get over this hurdle, we'll deal with it. The next step...
If you look at the time frame that we've had to put ourselves together, we are in a very different space than in 07. We've had to put a squad together or build and start
probably
new processes, year and a half, maybe 2 years, where Jack White did have 4 years. So if anything from 2007, you've got to look at New Zealand are in that space.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Like, they've had a long time to prep and prepare. Same thing. They've had a long time to prep. And this is their couple of loose games, and they're still going to come right in the World Cup. Whether they carry on, go on and win, I don't know, but they're absolutely contenders. And I think that's where we were in 2007. We've had 2 years now. What Rusty's done with the squad is nothing short of spectacular. No one expected it, and even the haters and the naysayers are pretty quiet now, because we all want the Springboks to do well, and you can say what you want, but they're doing well.
I think Sunday was probably the quietest I've ever seen Twitter, where we normally have some moan and groan about something.
Me too.
Some player... I'm different. Sure. 100% right.
What's Twitter?
Oh, yeah, you wouldn't know what that is.
Shit.
But I don't think... I think when that squad was announced, or the team was announced, it was quiet, which is very unlike South African Twitter, especially when it comes to Springbok rugby. There's always something to moan about.
No one bitched and moaned about Damien.
Well...
Who's had 2 flipping good games in a row.
No one bitched, even...
Now all of a sudden the guy's got to...
They normally moan about a substitution. This guy was taken off the field too early. How can you take him off after 50 minutes or whatever? Nothing. Quiet. And always...
All celebrating.
And that tells you slowly but surely that people are happy. I always say, when Twitter's quiet about sport like that, they're happy about something.
That's what happens when you're winning, and we're starting to get a winning culture. And don't get me wrong, there will be tough times, and they'll be soon. We will not perform against someone somewhere along the line. Like, I don't think we can be on an upward trajectory for like the next 2-3 years. There will be personnel changes. There will be
a transition somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. So I think like Rusty's plugging the hole now for the World Cup, which I was dead against. I was more looking ahead, but the fact that he's able to do it now, and the truth is 95% of the squad will be available for the Lions. Seriously, who's not going to be there? Like, the Beast might retire, but the Beast could absolutely be in the squad for the 2021 tournament. He could be there if he chooses to.
I think the people, if they're not going to
be there,
it's probably going to be an injury that forces them out.
Yeah, like even Etzebeth, maybe
someone like a Dwayne or a Beast or whatever.
Dwayne might not,
because that's all wear and tear. Depends how the body's held up by that time.
And age-wise, but all these guys are young and they're ready to still go through. And so Rusty's built a squad, which I thought was impossible in this time frame. We've built a squad and guys that we can draw on. We've got guys that are on the fringe that are not there at the moment, that are not going to the World Cup, but will most likely be there for 2021, and putting in a massive shot. And Rusty's given everyone belief. Like, he's playing form, he's rewarding guys. The guys want to play now. They're playing for the thing that matters the most, and that's for the love of the game, as opposed to, just going through the motions.
Definitely. So things are looking good. Well, as good as we hoped it would be.
Better than we expected.
Better than what we expected, that's the right word. And we've got 2 more games to look forward to. We expect big changes for those 2 games.
Yeah.
We expect fringe players to really get a go.
Some game time. Get them in the groove.
And I don't think too much needs to be we don't need to look too deep into this weekend's game that comes up.
I'd like to. I think this weekend's going to answer some questions as to who's a realistic fringe competitor versus who's not.
I do agree, but I'm talking about result-wise. If the result doesn't go away, if the RGs rock up here and they play their best 11 again, and we decide to change things up, I don't think we need to read into that too much. But I do think we need to start picking those fringe players and being 100% sure that those fringe players are the best that we can take. But that's another part. We would get to the podcast.